What's up, Grim Crew? Welcome back to the channel for another video. I am the Grim Gamer. My friends call me D. We are just a couple of days away, as I record this, of another year have come and gone. 2025 is nearly at its end, and I thought that it would be fun to look back at some of the games I was able to play on stream this year and rank them in a top 5 video. I had the ability and the chance to go through several games, some that I've played before and others I've played for the very first time, and I just thought it'd be fun to do a little retrospective and look back at some of the games that I really enjoyed playing this year. So this particular list is a top 5 of the full-length playthroughs. When I say full-length playthroughs, I don't mean I 100%ed them and I got platinum trophies and I did everything that there was to do. That's not what I'm talking about. I started it and I played until I saw credits. That's a full playthrough for me so that I can move on and do something else. I also do a lot of one-offs, just one-and-done streams. Those will be in a different list still to come, so I'll go over them at a different time. But these are the top 5 full-length playthroughs that I was able to do this year, my personal favorites. And the footage that you're about to see for each of these games comes from the streams themselves, the recordings of the streams themselves. I didn't feel it necessary to go back and record additional footage to put in here, so that's the footage you're going to see is from the streams themselves. And if you would like, you can go back and you can watch all of these playthroughs. They're all here. They're all archived right here on the channel in playlists, so you can see them and you can check them out if you would like. So without further ado, this is my top 5 games that I got to do full playthroughs of this year. Let's get into the list.
Epic Mickey is one of those games in years past that I never would have given a chance. And I've said it many times on my streams. I've said it many times here on the channel. One of my goals as I collect games is I want to look into games that I never would have given a chance, that I would have passed over or that just didn't look interesting and just, that I just never would have given a chance. And Epic Mickey is one of those games. Now, I never played the original release of Epic Mickey, so I wasn't sure what I was in for when playing this one. But Epic Mickey Rebrushed was a lot of fun. I played the Nintendo Switch version because it just looked like something that would fit right at home on a Nintendo console. It looked great. It played great. I enjoyed the paint and thinner mechanic a lot, which is actually what drew me into wanting to play this anyways. I saw it on a video or gameplay of it or something, and it just the paint and thinner mechanic really intrigued me. It looked interesting. And I can't think of any other game that's done something quite like that. The fact that the paint and the thinner lets you manipulate the environment around you and even your enemies, it was really, really neat. I enjoyed the inclusion of the Oswald character. And really, I enjoyed seeing all the characters from the really old cartoons. You know, characters from way before my time. And I know as time passes, things get forgotten about. So seeing many of these old characters brought back for a game like this was really, really cool. And really, I felt like this was sort of a love letter to not only Mickey, but Disney's past overall because of that. And the old cartoons. The old cartoons, the fact that you play through old cartoons as 2D platforming sections of the game, it was really neat because that's what allows you to move from one level to another, and to include the old cartoons as these 2D platforming sections I thought was absolutely brilliant, and it was a perfect way to include the old cartoons into the game in some way. I enjoyed the story, the settings, the gameplay. My only negative is I felt that it was a bit too long. It was a little too long for my liking. By the end, I was ready to be done with it, and I'm not sure when I'll dedicate the time to it again to go back through it. But it was an enjoyable experience. I did have a lot of fun with it, and it was very well done.
Buttons of some sort, I'm guessing. Correctly.
Heavenly Sword was a game I had played years ago. I mean, probably every bit of 15 years ago or more. But something about it stuck with me all these years later, and I'd been wanting to play it again for quite some time. So I finally picked up a copy, and I played it again this year. And it was almost like a new experience. I had forgotten so much about this game. It was almost like playing it for the first time. Years ago, I'd only ever played through it once, so most of this game I did not remember. I know it's got a reputation as just a God of War clone, and apparently not even a good one, but still to this day, I've never played a God of War game, so I have no way to compare them. That may or may not work in my favor, because going back through this was a blast. I felt that the combat was satisfying. I enjoyed the story, and I feel like the majority of the voice actors brought those characters to life very well. King Bohan is a little weird. I don't feel like... I feel like he seems a bit out of place with some of his dialogue and some of the demeanor, but either way, Noriko was great, and I liked her sidekick Kai as well. And speaking of Kai, one of the things I had forgotten completely about was all of the shooting sections with like Kai's crossbow. I remembered it was a thing, but I thought it was like a one-time thing in one section of the game, and that wasn't the case. That wasn't the case at all. There were several levels like this, and having to use the 6-axis controls to guide the arrows, I had completely forgot about. I guess not just the arrows, not just the crossbow, but using 6-axis to guide throwable objects like shields, or when you're using the cannonballs, you can control them that way. I did not remember any of that at all. But still, it was still fun, and I felt like it actually broke up all the hack and slash sections quite well, so that the game didn't feel too repetitive too quickly. It was a lot of fun. It wasn't too long. So I felt like it didn't overstay its welcome. Heavenly Sword was a lot of fun to go back to, and it's one I'll definitely play again in the future.
Get out of here. Oh boy.
Kena Bridge of Spirits is another first for me this year. I came across this one in another video here on YouTube some time back, and it was the art style that drew me in. It looks just like a Disney Pixar movie, and it looks amazing. I don't know of any other games that look like this. I'm sure there's probably some out there somewhere, but none that I can ever remember playing. So that's what drew me in. That's what made me want to play this. What surprised me about it was all of the different mechanics that it introduced throughout the game. Pretty regularly, the game introduces a new fighting mechanic or a new way to traverse the landscape, so it kept the gameplay feeling fresh at all times. Now, I felt the story was a little lacking, because other than the fact that Kena is a spirit guide, it felt like she had no personal motivation to do what she was doing. It felt like, well, this is my job, and it's just what I do. I need a little bit more than that. Throughout the game, they talk about her father and the fact that he was a spirit guide also, but that's about it. And it's only mentioned a time or two or something, I think. There's not a lot to it. So I would have liked to have seen this journey that Kena goes on be more related to her father in some way. Some personal reason that she's doing what she's doing, and some kind of internal struggle that she would have had to have overcome in relation to this and her father in some way or something. But either way, the little characters that follow you around, the Rot, which I'm not sure why they're called that. They are interesting as they can help you in many different ways, like moving objects around. They can help you in combat with different attacks. It's all very interesting. It was amazing to me to see just how many different ways the developers were able to incorporate these little creatures into the gameplay, and that was very unexpected for me, but in a good way. I really enjoyed that. All in all, I wish the story was a little bit more in depth, but gameplay wise and visually it is amazing. It is very good, and I enjoyed this one quite a bit. Kena Bridge of Spirits was a lot of fun, and I was surprised just how much more there was to this game than I expected going in, and I enjoyed it quite a bit by the end.
That in the Ayleid Ruins. The Ayleid Ruins are some of my favorite locations in this game. So once we
The Elder Scrolls IV Oblivion needs no introduction. I love this game on the PlayStation 3 and played it for hundreds of hours years ago. This was and may still be one of my favorite PlayStation 3 games, but then Skyrim came out and the PS4 came out, and I could use mods on the PS4. Now, I understand that mods on the PS4 are not great compared to modding on anything else, but it was new for me. And the things that I could do with weapons, armor, and the visual upgrades that I could make to Skyrim sort of ruined Oblivion for me. I tried to go back to Oblivion here and there over the years since then, and I just couldn't do it. I couldn't get back into it. Visually, the game to me is rough, and the world just feels so empty. At least to me it does, a lot of the time. And but then this remaster came out, and I was a little bummed at first because it was digitally at first, and I don't like buying digital games. I want physical editions of stuff. But when the physical edition released, I was pumped. I felt that this would be the perfect way for me to jump back into Cyrodiil and relive the Oblivion crisis all over again. And I was right. And now, not a whole lot has changed. As I went through it, and I only played the Knights of the Nine quest line in the main story, which I'd only ever played through one time in the past, I was constantly reminded that this is Oblivion. No doubt about it. It was the Oblivion that I remembered so fondly, but looks so much better, and that's really all I ever needed. I didn't need it to be completely rebuilt. I didn't need a whole bunch of extra new stuff to be added in. I just needed it to be visually appealing to my eyes. At least a little bit more, and this remaster did that, and I fell in love with Oblivion all over again. I think the visuals, personally, are amazing. I think it makes the world look so much more vibrant and colorful. The gameplay still feels the same. And it still has a bit of that Bethesda jank to it that we all know and many of us love at this point. It felt so good to go back and relive this story again for the first time in nearly 15 years. 'Cause that's about how long it's been since I played through that main story, and I look forward to playing more of it. I want to do more streams of this in the future, and I want to play through the arena. I want to play through the Shivering Isles. I want to explore more of the countryside. This I had a lot of fun with. The Elder Scrolls IV Oblivion remaster was a blast.
I'm a sucker for a good view. Of course. Oh.
This year, I finally got around to playing The Last of Us. I had put these games off for many years, for many different reasons, and I finally decided to give them a try after some convincing by some other people, and I'm so glad that I did. I could talk all day about my experience with The Last of Us because I have a lot to say about them, so I'll try to condense this a bit. Now, it seems like part one is most people's favorite and held in high regard as just a better game, but I have to respectfully disagree. Now, part 1 is good, but after playing through part 2, I feel like part 1 just sets the stage for the actual story that takes place in part 2. I love narrative-heavy, story-driven games, and this was right up my alley. Now, it took me a while to get it. It took me a while to understand the hype and praise that these games get. And throughout part 1, to be honest with you, I wasn't overly impressed. I tried to go into these games with no expectations, so I could try to enjoy them as best I could, but I couldn't get it out of my head that these are just another couple of zombie apocalypse games. And now I've heard some people say they're not zombies, but let's be honest. They're flesh-eating freaks turned by some sort of disease or virus. They're zombies, and you can't convince me otherwise. And in part 1, it's two people that, yes, they're forming a bond, they're trying to survive, and one is immune. And I don't know where, but I feel like I've seen that song and dance played out many times before, so I just didn't get it. And then I played part 2. And part 2 took me on an emotional roller coaster that I was not prepared for. Throughout my playthrough of this game, I felt joy, sadness, full-on depression, anger, which was more like an intense rage. Let me tell you, I went through it with this game. I felt what Ellie felt. I sought vengeance. I wanted revenge. And by the end, I understood where Abby came from and her motivations for doing what she did. Again, I went through it with this one, and it still didn't fully sink in until after I had finished the game. I had thought everything over that I experienced for several days after I turned the game off, and the layers to this story, the character development, the way the characters were voiced, I could feel everything that they were saying. I could feel every emotion behind every action, behind every word. And I found it interesting and intriguing that we see Abby evolve as we see Ellie sort of devolve into what Abby was. You see these two characters mirror each other throughout the story, and I was blown away by that by the time it was all said and done. Honestly, I feel like it did drag on a little long, though. I didn't like how the story jumps back and forth as far as the timeline went and in the order of which things unfold. I've never been a big fan of that. I don't care if it's in games and movies, television. I've always been very bugged by that. That's one of my pet peeves. But I feel like with this PS5 remaster version, if I were to go back and play the chronological mode and play it in chronological order, I feel like a lot of that would be fixed. For me, I think it would fix that problem. But the characters, the way they were portrayed, their relationships, their emotion, the relatability of these characters and those emotions, that's what I live for in my games. That's what I want more of. And plus the visuals of some of the countryside, so much beautiful views in some parts of this game. Now I understand the hype. Now I understand the praise that these games get. Part 2 is everything that I want in a gaming experience. The Last of Us Part 2 was easily my favorite playthrough of this year.
So there you have it. My top 5 favorite playthroughs that I was able to do on stream this year. Let me know in the comments below if you have played any of these games, which ones may be your favorites, or ones that maybe you haven't played and might be interesting for you to want to play. in the future. I have a huge, very long list of games that I'd like to get to in 2026, so stay tuned for that. If you want to join me for those streams, I stream every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday night, 11:30 p.m. Eastern start time. You can stop by there, you can chat with me throughout the streams, and maybe even suggest some other ones maybe that I should try. So that being said, that's it for this video. I hope you liked it. If you did, hit the like button. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already so you don't miss out any other content coming to the channel, whether it's top 5 lists like this, whether it's retro game hunting, retro game unboxings, whether it is the live stream replays that get archived here, or whatever else it is that I decide to do. So until next time, I am the Grim Gamer, and I will see y'all next time.